Democrats trying to undo the election, regardless of facts.
Well, we know it's not illegal. What crime was violated? Can you name one?
Attacking the president by any means necessary.
The entire whistleblower complaint is based on hearsay. This seems to me like a political setup.
Fabricating evidence.
Adam Schiff, in the middle of a committee hearing, making crap up.
None of those things are in this transcript.
It's nothing short of a coup, and it must be stopped.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Hey Michigan, John James here, approving this ad. By now you've seen the nasty attack ads from Gary Peters. He says, I'm not my own man, but here's the truth. I believe a quality education is a basic civil right. Students in Michigan are behind, parents are desperate, teachers are at their wits' end, and Senator Peters can't even show up for work. Listen up, Senator. You're not running against President Trump or Betsy DeVos or any other boogeyman. You're running against me. This may surprise you, Senator, but no one owns me.
Hello, happy Friday, everybody. Glad you could join. Please share. Big night, big day as well. Hope everybody enjoyed the Trump rally that just finished. I shall be with you in just a second. I hope everybody's doing well. Most definitely. Well, let's just get started because there's so freaking much to get to. You know, it's just insane. The first thing is another country will sign a peace deal with Israel in the next day or two, says Ambassador Kelly Croft. This is even bigger news because this just increases the will for peace in the Middle East, and it definitely will secure the nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize for the president. Ambassador of the United Nations Kelly Craft said Wednesday on Al Balari that the news of the next country to sign a peace accord with Israel could be coming in the next day or two. It could be today, Kraus said. It could be in the next day or two. Yes, we are very excited, and now that the others are going to follow, and the president did say that others will follow. So there must have been something that's been cooking in the back burner that he's very aware of course. They must have approached him prior to the last signing. She said, and what we did would not do is we didn't want to isolate anyone, but bring everyone on board and hope that this will allow Iran citizens to see the people really want peace in the Middle East, and they are part of that peace. With that said, this is a good opportunity again for the people of Iran to rise up against the tyrannical terror of the Shah. And hopefully this will succeed, that there will be even a bigger demand for freedom and total peace in the Middle East. But you still have proxies like Hezbollah in Yemen. There's a proxy war going on there that you don't seem to hear about anymore, but it's still going on. And you have other terror groups that they support around the world. I haven't seen this clip, but let's see.
Representative to the United Nations, welcome again on Al-Arabiya and Al-Hadith.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I would like to start. There's some historic event just took place. The King of Saudi Arabia, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, has addressed the General Assembly. It's the first time for over 20 years that something like this, a king from Saudi Arabia addresses the General Assembly. And I would like to raise, if I may, we just finished a few points with you for your comment. You'll be the first to comment on an hour from New York on this. I would like to ask you, the king have said that the kingdom has stretched its arms and hands for peace to Iran, and worked with it with positivity and respect, and they received their presidents in Saudi Arabia. But time and time again, they exploit this for their own expansionist projects. Your comment?
Well, I think anytime anyone extends a hand to Iran, that it must be to the Iranian citizens in order to promote peace and security in the region.
Exactly.
We can't allow the regime to exploit the goodwill of King. So we must be very careful and cautious in knowing that that's part of their business, is exploiting other countries, as we well know and we have seen most recently, especially yesterday in Rouhani's address. So we have to be very careful, and obviously we want peace in the region, but we also want to make certain that peace begins with the Iranian people.
Absolutely. He also spoke about the targeting by the Iranian regime last year to oil facilities in the kingdom, without caring about the economy of the kingdom, the region, the world, actually. Saudi Arabia is one of the major exporters of oil. And he said there must be a comprehensive solution for this problem with the Iranian regime. And it must be a stern position taken unitedly by the world towards this regime. Your comment?
Well, as you know, we have just signed two very historic peace agreements, one Israel with Bahrain and Israel with the United Arab Emirates. Obviously, we would welcome Saudi Arabia to be next. But I think what's important is that we focus on the agreement and we do not allow the regime to exploit the goodwill of Bahrain or of the United Arab Emirates or of Israel. So we have to make certain that we protect the Middle East. So by protecting the Middle East, we're protecting not only Israel, but we're protecting Palestine and we're protecting Europe and the rest of the world.
The interference of the Iranian regime, he said, the king, in Yemen has increased fold the suffering of the Yemeni people, and he called on the world to stop this interference. Actually, the Iranians have announced yesterday that they are giving the Houthis the technology for manufacturing ballistic missiles. Your comment on this?
Well, he also said yesterday that kind of bragging rights as to they were promoting different plans, different points of plans for Yemen, for Syria.
You mean President Rouhani?
Yes, I wanted to raise my hand and say, well, please enlighten me, because what I have seen you do in Yemen is to support the Houthis. What I have seen you do in Syria is do nothing but prop up the Assad regime. And we could go on and on.
In Iraq.
Absolutely, with the militia.
Peace in the Middle East. The king thanked the United States for its efforts to create peace in the region, and he said this is a strategic choice for the kingdom to have peace, and they spent a lot of efforts by the kingdom since 1981 to create this peace in the region. What can you do more? Are there more countries coming to the fold and creating peace? Where are we now in your office?
So if you go back 70 years and you've got Egypt, and then 25 years Jordan, and then the Trump administration, the president is elected in 2016, and in the last 3 years, just recently, we have UAE and Bahrain with Israel. So our plan is to bring more countries, which we will have more being announced very soon. And obviously,
how soon?
How soon? Well, it could be today. There could be one in the next day or two.
Oh.
Yes, so we are very excited, and I know that others are going to be following. And what we don't want to do is we want to not isolate anyone, but to bring everyone on board in hopes that this will allow the Iranian citizens to see that people really want peace in the Middle East, and they are part of this peace.
I'd like to move to your tweet last night which I was reading with interest. You said last night, and I'm quoting you, that the Iranian president's speech was a tour of divorce, of dishonesty. What made you say that?
Well, but for him to be on the video screen and to talk about promoting a plan for Yemen or for Syria or for Iraq, what is that plan other than propping up the areas for which conflict is happening? And for him to talk about President Trump. President Trump, just on Monday with Secretary Pompeo, President Trump signed an order on the restrictions and on our response to anyone that does not comply with 2231. So he must understand that we look at that regime as the way that they use terrorism for power. We use power by promoting peace and security in the world and peace and security at home.
We had an exclusive on Monday with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and when I asked him about whether the snapback exists as far as you're concerned, as far as Russia, he answered me, the snapback does, I'm quoting him word by word, the snapback does not exist as far as everybody is concerned, except the United States and one other Security Council member, meaning the Dominican Republic. Your comment.
Well, with all due respect, Lavrov is wrong. He's spinning his own, it's just his own spin, as we understand. In the council, each member has come to me privately. Everyone is very concerned about the chance that Iran will have access to weapons. Our Russian ambassador came to me with a proposal, a code of conduct that they would like to have had Iran and all of Iran sign outside the council. So if Lavrov was correct, then why would the Russian ambassador present a plan that would prevent Iran from becoming nuclear?
I also asked him about the arms embargo, which according to the nuclear deal expires on the 18th of October, according to the United States.
It already has expired.
It will never expire indefinitely,
right.
as being said. He actually answered me, and I again would like to read his answer to you, that the Security Council resolution, that there's no such thing as an arms embargo against Iran. The Security Council, when it was adopting the Comprehensive Resolution 223, said that the supply of arms to and from Iran would be subject to consideration by the Security Council, and that on the 18th of October 2020, this regime of sales on Iran.
There is an arms embargo. There's also, you can't sell, I think companies cannot do business with Iran either. And I believe there's somewhat of an oil embargo as well.
Would stop, and there is no embargo, and there will be no limitations whatsoever after the 18th of October, after the expiration of the time frame established by the Security Council. What do you say to him?
Well, that's his opinion, and he is incorrect. First of all, any nation that violates Resolution 2231 is going to be subject to restrictions from the United States. We made that very clear on Monday. I think that he needs to really reread Resolution 2231 because it states that Iran will not have access to any weapons, any conventional weapons whatsoever. So I think he's incorrect in his interpretation, and I would encourage him to reread this and maybe understand it better.
Yeah. Good. That's a good point.
Appears to be, there were many letters sent to the Security Council by many members, and mostly not in your favor. That was your letters, but what really the most important letter, as far as I'm concerned, was from the Secretary General on the 19th, when he said, there appear to be uncertainty whether or not the process set forth in paragraph 11 of Resolution 2231 has been initiated. Hence, he cannot establish a sanctions committee, and he cannot establish an experts panel and set a budget for all this. What do you say to the Secretary General?
Well, I respect the Secretary General, and I am very disappointed. However, his letter is only a reaction to the inaction of the other 13 council members.
Elliot Abraham, the U.S. Special Envoy in Venezuela and Iran, said the arms embargo will now be reinforced indefinitely and other restrictions will return, including the ban of Iran engaging in enrichment and reprocessing related activities and the prohibition on ballistic missiles testing and development. The sanctions on the transfer of nuclear and missile related technologies also on Iran. What if Iran does not comply? What worse? What if the world does not comply?
Well, just like I said, any nation that violates Resolution 2231 is going to be subject to restrictions. The U.S. stands alone on this. We don't need a cheering section to do what is the right thing. We announced sanctions on Monday. You heard Secretary Mnuchin, Secretary of Defense, Robert O'Brien. Everyone there was announcing different sanctions for Iran. And these sanctions will also take place on any country that provides weapons to Iran, because we have to prevent Iran from then selling and providing weapons to their proxies and other terrorists, because we have to protect the Middle East.
Quick question, time's catching up with us. Are there more sanctions coming soon? And will you be putting extra steps like stopping ships in the sea, high seas, and searching them for arms going or coming from Iran?
I can't predict the future, but what I can say that anyone who does not comply with 2231 or anyone who is allowing access for Iran to have weapons will also all be under restrictions from the United States.
Ambassador Kelly Craft, United States Permanent Representative to the United Nations, we thank you as usual, and thank you for your insights and for this exclusive interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Well, at
me.
least it was polite. In other news, before I do forget, and I do apologize, welcome everybody. It's just been a very fast track day. Iran and their allies, which is the ones I mentioned, continuously try to debunk any resolutions. More than likely, they're still trying to get nuclear weapons. This is a regime that continues terror around the world, supports it, and you can feel and see the tension in the leadership of Iran by their actions, their tone with everybody. They're trying to infiltrate into Iraq. We killed Soleimani, and the bastard's dead. And we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully they will learn to shape up and behave themselves. It may take a while, but it'll happen one of these days. When we go to Industrial Watch, bye-bye.